Something quietly broke in March of 2023. A demonstration of a new language model hit the internet, and within weeks, the entire technology sector lost its mind. A company that makes graphics chips briefly became the most valuable company on Earth. Startups with 12 employees and no revenue were suddenly valued at $15 billion. Every chief executive of every large company in the country started talking about artificial intelligence strategy on their social media profiles. We have seen this movie before. Same story, different actors. This is the artificial intelligence bubble, and it is already larger, faster, and more irrational than the dot-com bubble ever was. Start with the money. In the single year 2023, venture capital firms poured $54 billion into companies working on what they call generative artificial intelligence. That is more money than the entire internet sector received in 1999, the absolute peak of the dot-com frenzy. One company that has not yet figured out how to make money raised $4 billion while openly telling investors it will lose money until at least 2027. Another company raised $1.5 billion, sold itself to Microsoft 18 months later for less than half that amount, and the founders still walked away with hundreds of millions each. That is not investing. That is buying a very expensive lottery ticket. The same investment firms that lost hundreds of billions of dollars in the last crash are now all in on artificial intelligence because missing the next big thing would end their friend. Careers. Now look at the actual economics. They do not work. Training the very best models already costs more than $1 billion in computer chips alone. Running those models for customers is even more expensive. Serving answers from one of the largest open source models costs roughly $15 to $20 for every million words it produces. The most popular chat service is reportedly losing hundreds of thousands of dollars every single day, even after introducing paid subscriptions. One leading company is burning through $5 to $7 billion a year and has warned investors it could lose $44 billion before it ever makes a profit. Here is the secret nobody wants to say out loud. Today's large language models are a commodity dressed up as magic. Once a model is trained, the only real cost is electricity and chips, and electricity is not getting cheaper. The only temporary advantage any company has is access to more chips than everyone else, and chips are the one thing that unlimited money can buy tomorrow morning. That is not a defensive moat. That is a very expensive treadmill. Next, the promised uses are mostly imaginary. Every big company you read about adopting artificial intelligence is running a small experiment, nothing more. Research shows that 7 out of 10 companies trying these tools have seen no measurable improvement to their profits. Programmers who use coding assistants write code 55% faster, but 2 independent studies now show they also introduce roughly 55% more bugs. They are simply shipping broken software at higher speed. Customer service bots make up answers. Legal research tools cite court cases that do not exist. Medical diagnosis systems have been banned in half of Europe because they harmed patients in trials. The only thing that reliably works across large companies right now is making presentation slides look prettier. Then there is the energy problem, and it is catastrophic. By 2027, training the next generation of giant models is expected to require as much electricity as the entire country of Australia uses today. For everything. Homes, factories, hospitals, everything. Data centers already consume 3 to 4% of all electricity on the planet. Investment banks now predict that artificial intelligence alone will cause data center power demand to rise 160% by 2030. Governments are literally choosing between providing power to new housing and providing power to servers that write mediocre fan fiction. The pay for talent has also gone completely insane. The best artificial intelligence researchers now earn $5 to $10 million a year, more than the highest paid athletes in many sports. A 27-year-old who published one good research paper can demand almost any salary. Companies are paying these sums not because the individuals are irreplaceable, but because they are terrified of missing the next breakthrough. In reality, 90% of the value inside these laboratories comes from the giant computing budget, not from any single genius. When the computing race finally hits physical limits as it must, these $10 million researchers will become ordinary employees overnight. We watched the exact same thing happen in cryptocurrency. In 2021, every blockchain programmer was a millionaire. By 2023, many were driving for ride-sharing services. So when does the bubble pop? It pops the day the river of money slows down. The moment one of the leading companies announces it needs another $50 billion and cannot raise it at a higher valuation than the last round, the spell will be broken. That is exactly how the dot-com bubble ended, not because the internet itself was fake, but because the money simply ran out. Artificial intelligence is real, the technology is real, the progress is real. But the valuations, the endless hype, the story that one company will own the entire future and be worth $10 trillion, these things are pure fantasy.